Hi, this is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Welcome to Morning Mindset Cafe. Today we are talking about success through a positive mental attitude. Yes, this is the hardcover book published in 1969. Those in the live stream have access to a PDF and can join me in referencing the book. Today in particular, we're going to be talking about develop inspirational dissatisfaction. That is a mouthful, isn't it? Yes, it is. And what I find interesting is every time I come across it personally, sometimes it strikes me as, well, yeah, it's like all you have to do is say the phrase and I get it in its entirety. And then other times it's, I think I get it. I'm just not seeing it today. Funny how that happens to us. I'm blaming it on just being human. All right, so that we do know that a positive mental attitude is the right mental attitude in a given situation. However, if the price to be paid on a given job or given work is too high in relation to the goal which it will purchase, right? If the price you have to pay in order to reach your goal, if the price is so high that it really isn't worth it, there isn't a good return. If such a job should happen to be yours, change your job. It is that simple. Change your job. If you're unhappy at your job, the poisons of this dissatisfaction spread into every phase of living. If, however, now that's if the price to reach the goal is too high and you're completely dissatisfied and not happy at all, it's time to leave and not do that job again. If, however, the price for the job is worth it, if the goal that you're going after, the work you're doing, the job you're doing, and the price is worth it, and you're still unhappy, you may be able to develop inspirational dissatisfaction. And what we're going to look at is dissatisfaction in this way that could be positive or negative, good or bad, depending on the circumstance. So the story that we're told here is Charles Becker, president of Franklin Life Insurance, says, I would urge that you be dissatisfied, not dissatisfied in the sense of disgruntlement, but dissatisfied in the sense of that divine discontent, which throughout the history of the world has produced all real progress and reform. I hope you will never be satisfied. I hope you will constantly feel the urge to improve and perfect not only yourself, but the world around you. Inspirational dissatisfaction can motivate persons from sinner to saint, failure to success, poverty to riches, defeat to victory, misery to happiness. So what do you do when you make a mistake? When things go wrong, when misunderstandings develop with others, when you meet defeat, when everything seems black, when it appears there is no way to turn, when it looks as if a satisfactory solution to your problem is impossible, do you do nothing and allow disaster to overtake you? Do you fold up, become frightened, run away? Or do you develop inspirational dissatisfaction? Do you turn disadvantages into advantages? Do you determine what you want? Do you apply faith, clear thinking, and positive action, knowing that desirable results can and will be achieved? Napoleon Hill says, every adversity has the seed of an equivalent benefit. Isn't it true that in the past what seemed to be a difficulty or unfortunate experience has inspired you to success and happiness that might not otherwise have been achieved? I can read a little bit more, but at this point, what is coming to my mind is blessing in disguise. How often, good morning, Donna, how often do we look back over with the benefit of hindsight, right? Benefit of hindsight that says that terrible situation we were in, that struggle that we had, that challenge that we came across, that awful life experience turned out to be a blessing in disguise. I've said it. I've heard others say it. And then you have being in the middle of the struggle and being able to say, we can get something out of this. We're going to get through this and we're going to be better for it. Now, there was a gentleman that used to join us every weekday morning, Ralph. We call him Gratitude Ralph, and he's awesome and he's fabulous. And he would talk about how important it is that when you're in the middle of the struggle that you be grateful. And it still strikes me as odd to even say it because I fully understand the other side, which is fully understand. When I am in the middle of a struggle, the last thing I'm capable of being is grateful. What I am capable of doing is to begin the road toward being grateful. That's what I realized after hearing him over and over and over again, is that I am capable of recognizing that gratitude is going to help me get through this, recognizing that I may not feel it now, but I can get there, which to me is a form of positive mental attitude, because then it is my saying, I know this is temporary and I know we're going to get through this and we're going to get something in the end. We're going to get something in the end. Any comments or anybody want to jump in? We have, and Walter, who had to take off for a moment, is saying that we look at this as fear, the fear of making a change in our life. When we look at it logically, we always have that option of change, but we let the fear hold us back. That is one thing, yes. Yes. And then we have Mary sharing. She was bitter in her marriage and all the weight she had lost, she gained back. Yeah, absolutely. When you're caught up in the struggle, difficult to see past your nose. It was for me. In my former job, I realized I was letting my dissatisfaction affect my marriage and weight. I made a decision to look at what my job offered. My job offered me money to travel and allowed me to listen to podcasts, which were inspirational and motivational. You were able to see that you could gain some good out of it. I love that. I had a job, the last one I had, that made it very easy to start my own business. Actually, it didn't. Starting my own business was the most terrifying thing I'd ever done. Well, not the most, but it was an anxiety-filled year, let me tell you, of even getting to the point of, I'm going to start this business. Even though the job was not a good fit for me, I was not a good fit for the job. There was the return on investment of time and effort in exchange for that money was not worth it. Exactly what was said earlier. Sometimes the price to be paid on a given job is too high in relation to the goal that it purchases. My goal was to make enough money to start this business, and I'm here to tell you the price was very high. I could not, my attitude could not be grateful, It was just very sad. It was a very toxic environment. I was surrounded by wounded people who all they were interested in was talking about each other, tearing people down, constant berating of each other, stupid comments from leadership that did nothing to elevate anybody. It was just bad, just bad. And I chose to stay because my plan was the money is going to let me start my own business. I was not a happy camper. The end result was it affected my attitude. My husband struggled with trying to, we'll put it nicely, just trying to be nice to me. He allowed me space to vent and be who I needed to be, but I couldn't get past that, right? I carried all this gloom and doom with me. Oh, it was terrible. It was terrible. I didn't have the skills. I did not have the guidance nor the skills to be able to look at it any differently. Today I would. With what I know today and my ability to put it in practice today, yes. Today I could do it, meaning I could cope with it much, much better. Back then, I couldn't, but boy, can I learn from it. Boy, can I learn from it. William, W now, huh? Is that what I'm to call you? Is W? Good morning. All right, so developing inspirational dissatisfaction. So again, we're not talking about dissatisfaction similar to what I was just talking about, that rage and that ick and everything else. We're not talking about that because I couldn't, well, we are talking about that, I guess, but I couldn't develop any positive out of that. I was not capable at the time. Today I could, because of what I know to be true now, with the ability to control my thoughts and to recognize and to trust my instincts. Because honestly, as I'm thinking about it, I'd have left on my own accord after the first 30 days. So having said all that, inspirational dissatisfaction can motivate you to succeed. We're going to bring Ron in. Let's hope it's not an accident that he pressed that call button. Good morning, Ron. Haven't seen you in ages. How are you?
Yeah, it has been a while. Yeah, hey, good morning. And I'm actually at an airport, so there may be a little bit of background noise. But it's interesting because I just went through that where I had just gotten to the place where I was in my career where I had to make some decisions, and I had that nagging within me, and it wasn't about the money, and it wasn't about anything else. It was just really about what was it that I really wanted to do in the next chapter of my life. And so when probably about 6 or 8 weeks ago, gosh, it's been about 8 weeks ago now, I went to the marketing director for the company that I worked for and told him that I didn't want to do this anymore. And so and when he asked me, and of course I've been in the top of the company for a number of years. And in fact, the very week that I told him that, I was actually number one in the company in several different categories. So the answer that I gave to him was, it's not that I'm not capable of leading the team that I was leading. It was just that I didn't want to anymore. And it had to do with a lot of things. But so that's kind of where that dissatisfaction it's kind of you come to a crossroads and you have to make a decision. Do you want to continue doing what it is that you're doing? And do you feel like that dissatisfaction is going to put that drive into you, and so it's going to want to make you be better and to do that, or are you going to go in a different direction? And so for me, it was at this point, and after 12 years of being with that company, I made the decision that I didn't want to do that anymore. So now what I'm going to be doing now, I'm not really sure yet. But
and I was hoping you would segue right into. Now I'm doing what I want to do, which is okay.
Well, and actually, I mean, I'm like I say, I'm at the airport right now. I've been in Minneapolis, Minnesota for the last 3 days, or since Monday, and I'm just kind of weighing out my options as to what it is that I really want to do. But and I'm still in the trying to make sure that I'm making the right decision as to what it is that I want to do. You know, I heard one time, condemnation without investigation is the purest form of ignorance. And so when an opportunity came for an opportunity, I didn't want to just say, no, I didn't want to do that. So I have a good idea as to what it is that I want to do. So maybe in future blabs, I can reveal that, but at the direction that I think that I'm going. But there's still some God stuff going on there, and I'm in prayer and trying to make the right decision. So anyway, that's kind of where I am in my life right now is the topic that we're talking about. And, you know, it took me, it really took me probably about a year, or probably about 9 months of where that nagging within me was going on, where I was having to make the decisions. And when it finally came to the point where it was just, I just don't want to do this anymore. And so I think for some people, that's the decision that they have to make. And it's not just in your job. You know, it can be in relationships. It can be in relationships in marriage. It can be in relationships with friends. It can be in relationships business-wise with associates. And, you know, we're constantly having to make decisions. And so where that relates to this is you have to go with your gut. You know, and sometimes it's a quick decision, and other times it's a slower decision. So anyway, I hope that's helpful.
Very helpful. It sounds similar to what happened to me in 2013. I almost shut down my business. And instead of shutting down my business, and through the encouragement of my husband, I continued moving forth with the services I was offering. But then I started being open to, this really isn't what I want to do. And I know that. But I began my own exploratory phase, which sounds like where you are right now, which is I have an idea of where I want to go. I'm being led someplace, but there's no real clarity yet. And there wasn't for me until into 2014. And even then, the final outcome wasn't clear. It was the direction I knew I needed to go is what happened in 2014. Hence the starting of my personal blog, which is Grow Because You Know. And some of the work that I do with solo business owners, which is different than what I do with the bigger companies. And then what's happened with that is because I started on that path where I was led to and began the exploratory, there are some things that I did. It was like, well, I have no idea if this is going to work. Oh, it didn't. Let's try something else. But I was willing to because I knew I was on the right path. So what ended up happening for me is that well into 2015, I got more solid and more clarity. And today I can tell you the final vision of the company. Today I can do that. But we're talking not quite, are we talking about 2 years later? About 2 years later. We're talking that real clarity now that I can know where the direction I'm going. I know the final goals I'm going after. I feel very confident. It sits solid inside, but the struggle very similar to what you're just describing that you're in right now, which is I know this isn't what I want. I know that I have an idea of what I want, but it's not really clear. So let's be flexible and open and rely on faith for the guidance of our gut that says, yeah, we're on the right path. Yeah, you said it beautifully. You said it beautifully, because you're in the middle of it. But you're also able to recognize it, which is what I love. You're able to recognize where you are. I wasn't able to do that before. I really wasn't. I can look back now and identify.
It helps to have a coach.
And then there's that. Yeah, and I didn't have a coach.
Yeah, I'm very fortunate to have a coach that's worked with a lot of the big name people. In fact, he was Jim Rohn's business partner for over 19 years before he passed away.
So he's worked with executives and high performance people.
Yeah, he's worked with Brian Tracy, Mark Victor Hansen, and some other people like that. So the upper, and it did give me hope. And in fact, he asked if I was asked during my last coaching session if I was going to come to Minnesota to at least explore the opportunity. I said I was, and actually he was kind of thinking that maybe I wouldn't do that. So, which is leading me in that other direction. I just wanted to make sure that like I say, I didn't want to give up any opportunities, that might be there. So.
Well, and you have the options available to you. You have the flexibility that you can explore, and you can look a little further in a variety of options. You're not restrained and constrained by finances, time, pressures that often we rely on to actually get us angry enough to do something, right? But instead, you were on top anyway. And so it was a choice, which allows you, it's a much easier transition when it's a choice like that, isn't it?
Yeah.
Much easier than feeling like you're forced because you allowed yourself to be in a position to be forced.
Yeah, I got a phone call yesterday from one of the managers that's been working with me for the last couple of years, and he wanted to call me to congratulate me on a great kickoff into the third quarter because he said that half of the awards that they gave out were to me, and I wasn't even there. So he just said, "I just wanted to call." He said, "I wanted to call and let you know that you were kind of the hit of the party, even though you weren't there."
And there's Ron saying, 10 years ago, I'd have been there and feeling like on top of the world. But right now, okay, thanks.
I said, maybe they'll mail me my awards.
Yep. It makes total sense to me, actually, because and what's interesting is that lately I've been adding to my collection and connections, right? High performance coaches. Those who work with high performers, top performers, whether they're athletes or they're salespeople or they're executives, they're the entrepreneur that's built and sold multiple businesses, and they call them the top 1%. And it sounds like you're up there in the top 1% where you're a high achiever, high performer, and having somebody that can guide you so that you, even though you know what to do, right? So to avoid doing that, right? Which is, what to do, is to have somebody else, which gives us all hope, right? We should all get a coach.
Yeah. Oh, I would highly recommend anybody to make sure that they get a coach, depending on what it is that they're looking to achieve. And I would say, if somebody said, "Well, I really can't afford a coach," I would say, "Well, then you can't afford not to have one." So, and that's typically the way it is, right?
Yes, it is the best investment I made, and I'm not kidding you. I put it on my credit card. I was done. I said, "There's no excuse. I'm ready. I need you to guide me. You're the one that's going to guide me. And she came on board with me, and within 30 days, had clarity, had breakthrough, had different belief system and, that needed to be changed, had a different outlook, had solid goals, and I was ready. She's who I needed. Best money ever spent.
Well, when you're by yourself, and even if you have the support, if you're married, you have the support emotionally from your spouse and behind you, which I do as well. But you start second guessing, when it's just you, and typically, and I know you've talked about this in other blabs, where typically, I think you're probably in the same situation that I am, that our spouses are much different in personality than ours. And my wife is a retired school teacher, so she retired in 2008. She's now a stay-at-home Mimi. So her concept of the world is going to be a little bit different than what mine is, and so yes, I can kind of bounce things off of her, but really when it comes down to it, if you don't have somebody else that knows where you are, has been where you are, and knows the direction, if you don't have somebody to bounce those kind of things off of, just one little turn, one little decision that you make on your own can cost you hundreds of times without having somebody there. And you're not going to get that for free. Some people have, might have been fortunate enough to be born into a family where they have their mentor right there that's going to do it for them for free. But in most cases,
there are some who actually have mentors that have paired up, but it is such an intimate relationship that, I've had people come to me and say, "Will you be my mentor?" I'm like, no. I don't know you, and I don't know that I even like you, much less want to see you succeed, So I know what they're looking for, and when that happens, of course, I guide them towards a mastermind group or towards a business coach that's appropriate for the kind of business that they have, because I'm not skilled that way, and those that I do take on are short term, but I'm with you on the find the spot for you. Mastermind group, business coach. A coach is one level above a mastermind group, in that, if your costs really are the hindrance, the mastermind group, start there, because you will succeed if you use them correctly. And then when you've made additional revenue because of being a member of a mastermind group, then you can go to a one-to-one relationship.
And many times you'll find that mentor, that coach in that mastermind group.
Oh yeah, so that can happen as well.
In most cases, I think I have found that from observation that has been one of the best sources to find, because you have such a group of a diverse group of people, unless it's a specific mastermind group.
Right.
But if it's more of a generalized mastermind group, you've got
a business mastermind group, or that for professionals.
Yeah. So, but I would say that you don't want to take this journey by yourself.
I think that's excellent advice, because my own thinking held me back. Right? It's my own thinking that got me there. So it was my own thinking that held me back. And as you were talking and I was relating my own experience with my business, the basic principle that's told us about the mastermind principle, which is actually to reach out to somebody else. And it's in leadership principle as well. And it's initiative. It is saying and recognizing that my own thinking is not going to get me out of this problem. And, I want to solve this. I want to be better for this. I want the positive outcome. So let me reach out to somebody and have them guide me. That's what I'm hearing from this. That's one of my takeaways.
Yeah. Really good stuff.
Yes, it is. It is. What a journey you are on. Good stuff.
Yeah, it's fun. Well, I'm going to let somebody else jump in.
All right. Thanks for stopping by.
Yeah, I'll stay on. My flight doesn't leave till later this afternoon, so
okay.
Just kind of hanging out. All right, bye.
Fabulous. Thank you, Ron. So Walter's saying knowing the who, the what, and the where is fundamental in finding success. It is. It is. But now imagine yourself in a situation where, I love the way Ron said it, that inspirational dissatisfaction, because we were talking about the cost. What's the price of achieving the goal, of doing the job? Is it too high? And are you that unhappy? I mean, it could be as horrifying as my experience was, or it could be as simple as, I just don't want to do this anymore. Oh, there isn't any real satisfaction out of doing the job well. It comes so easily to me, and I'm so familiar with my surroundings. This isn't where I'm not feeling it, right? So how can we take that as dissatisfaction? How can we take that toward success? I love what Ron said, that he reached out to his coach and got guidance there. He's in prayer and going in faith to look for divine guidance. Here in the book, we're told that Albert Einstein was dissatisfied because Newton's laws didn't answer all his questions. Very frustrating. I want to know the answers, right? So where was his focus? He started inquiring and kept inquiring into nature and higher mathematics until he came up with the theory of relativity. Yes, there's a little more to it than that, but that was the impetus, was his dissatisfaction with the current situation, our dissatisfaction with the status quo. What about that? Our dissatisfaction with being surrounded by mediocrity, and we want to be bigger and better than that. How's that for inspirational dissatisfaction? It doesn't have to be this big ball of ick, right? What is happening with you right now that you're saying to yourself, this isn't what I want? Can you take that and be inspired by it and be motivated to either continue because the outcome is what you want, or to start being open to what other paths you could be taking? So we're going to let Andrea come on in. Thank you, dear. Good to see you. Any minute you're going to be here.
Good. Okay.
There she is. And I can hear you.
Yay! On the first try, right?
Yes. Good to see you.
Nice to see you.
How goes it?
Wonderful. Great evening, and I'm certain a great morning for everyone as well. So glad to be here. I just wanted to pop on to share a story, because I'm all about stories, right? Similar to Ron, and I'm sure you as well, I reached that inspirational dissatisfaction point. But in my life, my history, I've been groomed to be a very successful employee. And I don't know if many people relate to that, but that's what I was born to do. In my DNA, my family history, the way I grew up.
You're a worker bee.
Yeah.
See, that's now I only say that just so you know, my
True.
mother always said, listen, I am the best worker bee you will ever want. Don't ask me to make the decisions. I just want to come to work, do the work well, and leave. I'm happy with that. And that's the way she was raised. Go ahead.
And the same, I mean, it is but it's not necessarily that I was happy with it. It was more so that it was the mindset that I've been groomed to understand is what's normal and what is successful. So moving from there to being someone who's just a hard worker, which is great and fantastic, but going from that to someone who owns your own business takes a lot of courage, you know, it does. So I've been on this journey for a long time, and around last year I just quit my job completely, and it wasn't because it was dissatisfying. I loved what I did, but I saw myself drawn to a higher purpose. I was dissatisfied with the state of things outside of my job. I didn't like that there was such a high barrier to entry for young entrepreneurs. I didn't like that there wasn't an ecosystem for startups where I was from. I didn't like that the universities weren't teaching, you know, the education that children need now in order to be successful in today's world. And when I realized that that didn't exist, that's what pushed me to just leave everything I knew. You know, I mean, I've been freelancing, I've been, you know, doing things on the side. They call it the side hustle nation, right? For like 8 years, right? But to actually step out on faith and have enough courage to do that didn't just come from a dream I had. It came from inspirational dissatisfaction. I was tired of seeing people run away from home because there were no opportunities for them and there was no education for them. And I wanted to change that. Still want to change that. So
there you go.
that's me.
It's a wonderful story. It's a wonderful story of how we're just not happy with it. We're just not, no, there's no satisfaction here. There's got to be better. It's got to be different. And then seeing, like in my case, I wasn't clear on what the end goal was going to be. I just knew that we're going to start on this path because I knew it was the right path. I wasn't quite sure where it was going to end up, but I had total confidence it was the right path. And that, when I had that, is why I was able to start moving forward in that direction, of which I'm in now. The ultimate goal, where I sit now, I have the clarity, like you are sitting. Wow, good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah, that's all I had to share.
Oh, that's all. That's awesome. That's fabulous.
That's it.
It's good. It's plenty. Trust me. I want to give a quick shout out to Donna who snuck in, and Nathan. Good to see you here. I am going to be closing the meeting room in about not quite 10 minutes. And that is because today is Wednesday, remember? Wednesday is professional networking meeting at the top of the hour. There's the link if anybody wants. We're closed down here. Come on over if you're a professional and want to network and all that stuff. But so what happens to me, I don't know if you've noticed this, but what happens to Charlene up until a few years ago was things had to get really, really bad. I had to get to the point of being forced because I didn't want to make decisions. I didn't want to be responsible for the outcome. I didn't want the personal accountability. You know, in other places I could, honestly. In many other places, it wasn't difficult at all. In business, in home, there were some areas very difficult. It was easier to let other people make the decision for me by allowing myself to be backed up in a corner before reacting. Right? And what this is telling us, your story, my own experience, Ron coming in, is that we don't have to do it that way. We don't have to. We can recognize that, it's really okay I'm going to go over on this path over here. So, you know, self-awareness is a huge deal, but it's also the action that you take from being aware of who you are and where you are and what's happening now. Because I would sit in it rather than take action. The fear was too much.
I think it happens a lot with people who are very passive. I'm passive myself, so when it comes to big decisions, sometimes not necessarily passive, but indecisive when it comes to huge decisions,
Yeah.
right?
Oh, no, there's the value of a mastermind group. I'm telling you, mastermind group or a coach. That's where the value comes in. Because as Ron said, when we're stuck in our own head, boy, I can talk myself out of things so quick.
Yep.
So
we are our worst enemies in this biggest sense of the word, right? I had something I was going to say. Oh, that if it costs too much.
Yeah.
I think a lot of people, and everyone has been through that situation at one point, that we're afraid to let go sometimes because it's so stuck in our minds and in our hearts, but it's costing us way too much. And that could also be another fear and another form of scarcity, and the block that's helping us or stopping us from seeing what we can actually change, or stopping us from being inspired because we don't see it as an option. We don't see that cost. It's too much, We don't see it as an option.
You just described it. You being the perfect employee. That's a mindset. It's neither good nor bad, but it is a mindset. And to go from that to being a business owner is a 180-degree turn. I mean, that's literally like turning around and putting on a completely different face, attitude, mental acuity, wardrobe, the whole bit.
Everything.
It is. Everything. So to do that, if you've not seen it, if you've not been exposed to it, to know the how of it, it's tough. Thank goodness for social media and for connections and for growth and for opportunities that we come across every day now, that we can learn. We can see people in action, right? We can watch you and say, well, wait a minute, she says she was an employee and now she's not. So it is possible.
It's a struggle, but to change, it's the biggest introspection is the biggest, I think, challenge that anyone can sort of face for themselves, to see where it is you stand and then move to where you want to be.
I remember talking about Think and Grow Rich when I first started this morning program somewhere, and it was early on, like in the first couple of weeks, where I just, this is hard, people. This is just hard. I was struggling with one of the concepts. Because again, I was a lot of these I told you I'd used and lived for many years, and then got caught up in this mindset of survival, which is really not a good spot. So it was struggle. I wanted to grasp this. I wanted it to be in my life. I wanted it to happen, and stick with me. It's just not happening yet. I don't get it. Keep talking, And I didn't get it. And then the light bulbs went off, and then it happened. And then shortly after an initial breakthrough, then the momentum happens. Then that's how it works. Momentum begins. And rather than being frightened of it, which we can be, and stopping the self-growth and personal introspective habits, just go. And that's where the faith comes in. So big shout out to Cindy. Good morning, Cindy. Good stuff.
I like how it says, Evan says, business is like a garden. One must turn the soil over often to be producing the goods.
Yeah, and that's that introspection.
Yep.
And I think that's where that dissatisfaction comes in, isn't it? That's what telling us it's time to weed, maybe, and it's time to till a bit.
Maybe.
I'm trying. I'm grasping. I know. I'm trying.
No, maybe. I think the situation is different, I guess, for everyone, that point where you're you're so dissatisfied. But here's the thing about inspirational dissatisfaction, right? Yeah. It can easily be dissatisfaction that turns into bitterness,
That's what mine had done. Yeah.
Yeah. So if we don't do what Ron has done, what you've done, what I've done, what many people have done before, if we don't recognize it instantly and take it and change it to be not negativity, but actually inspiration, that is that force, that catalyst, that momentum, that point.
Yeah. That's it. Don't wait until, like me, you're backed in a corner and struggling terribly with it, but be more like Andrea and Ron, who were able to, and now I'm able to, and I've actually done this, where it is, yeah, some things I'm just not happy with this. Not happy with this. Something needs to be different here. And rather than sit in it like I used to do and go backwards, let's take a look at it and go forward with it. Love that, Andrea. So
okay, well, I'm gonna go now.
Okay, dear. Thanks for stopping by.
Okay, bye.
So any other comments from the chat area? Talk to me about your takeaways, because I'm going to be closing down shortly. I want to make sure that if anybody's been inspired or has some solid takeaways, that you share them with us. I don't know. No need to come into the live stream, because again, I'm going to be closing down. I have that meeting that I have to open up. I have a fella, he's a new presenter. It's his first time. And so he's very, very nervous. Just so you know. So you're welcome to join us there. And then those who don't have the link to the scheduled blabs, there they are. I'm sorry, Nathan. Truly. I'm closing down in like 30 seconds, my friend. Okay, so again, remember it's Wednesday, so I have to close down for my professional meeting. And takeaways: inspirational dissatisfaction. Okay. Great conversation, inspiring. Good. Glad you're inspired. Everybody get your download on the PDF, because I'm going to close that down. Okay. So my takeaway is, when I am not feeling it, when I'm in the middle of the struggle of the project, the decision for the business, the decision for personal life, to continue a relationship or not. That's the dissatisfaction. And to take a moment and to take a step back and say, is this going to help me get where I need to go? And if it is, how can I approach it with a positive mental attitude and take inspiration for this to create something new, to change path, to go a different direction, to be better for it? That's my takeaway. Find what inspires you when you're not struggling, to know what will continue to inspire you when there is struggle. Thank you for that, Cindy. Thank you for that. All right, thank you for joining me in the live stream, Ron and Andrea. Such joy to have you here. Thank you in the comment section and chat for participating in the discussion. Thank you for watching the replay, those who've hung with me this long. This is Charlene Burke with Grow Because You Know. That's www.growbecauseyouknow.com. Let's move forward with the day on purpose, with purpose, to grow our hearts, grow our minds, and grow our businesses. Until next time, have a great day.